Welcome to Primetime, everybody. I'm your host, Hunter Chambliss, and I'm joined by my co-host, Chad and Carrie. How's it going, guys?
Going great. It's been a long time since we've recorded, and I'm really excited to get back into it.
Yeah, I think the last time I didn't have my blonde hair, so it's been a while, to say the least.
Yeah.
But yes, we are doing a new format on this channel called the Roundup. So, Chad, do you want to kind of explain what the Roundup is, since it was partially your idea?
Yeah, I'm really excited to get into this new idea we had. And the reason for this is because um, generally we can't always, get out to see newer movies. I know Hunter works a lot, we work a lot, we have our baby, stuff like that. We can't always get out to see the new ones to, review them right away. So we're like, let's go ahead and do something that we've sort of done before when we did our 61 Days of Primetime and review batches of 6 movies. And we're going to call this series the Roundup, and this is the first episode of it. But this one is a little bit of a special kind of version of it. Generally, what we're going to do with the Roundup series is we're going to pick 6 new movies from whatever year we're in. Our next episode will be the first 6 movies between in the first few months of 2025, and then we'll keep going trying to review basically everything, all of the new movies. But it'll be easier when some of them come out on streaming, and or we can go catch a viewing of it when the movies have been out for a few weeks. But this one we're very excited because we're covering Final Destination Bloodlines. Not only that, but we decided, hey, there's 6 movies in this franchise now. Let's just kind of go through the whole franchise within reason. We're not going to spend too long on this, but kind of show our love for what this franchise is. I know each of us love this franchise in a different kind of way. I think Carrie's maybe the lowest on this franchise just in general. But I've always kind of really loved this franchise. Even when it doesn't make much sense, I think it's really fun. And I love the kind of way that they're able to go about finding interesting ways to kill people, but not have a actual killer come and do it, but have death itself do it, which I think is a really cool kind of way. And the mystery and finding out, what's going to happen to each of these people in these Rube Goldberg style contraptions.
It really is.
Are just really, really fun in that way. So let's go ahead and talk about this franchise. We'll start with the first one. We'll go through the second, third, fourth. Oh God, that fourth and fifth, and then that final 6th movie that came out, and talk about them all. So let's go ahead and talk about Final Destination from 2000, directed by James Wan, music by Shirley Walker.
Yep.
Starring Devon Sawa and others.
Ali Larder, Sean William Scott.
Name them all. Go ahead. Keep going.
I forgot to play Carter. Dang it.
Kerr Smith. Is that
Kerr Smith? Yes, Kerr Smith.
Chad E. Donella, fellow Chad.
Yep.
Gotta love him. Yeah, a lot of. Oh, and of course Tony Todd. Did we say
Tony Todd? Yep.
It's almost like the best, or the best ones have Tony Todd in them. Even the third one that just has his voice, right?
Yep. Devil's Flight voice.
Yeah. But yeah, let's go into this first one, I guess, because generally what we've done in the past with those 61 Days episodes is we would each share our kind of general thoughts, and then maybe some discussion would come about it. But yeah, Hunter, do you want to start on what you generally like about this movie?
Yeah, so this was one of the earliest horror movies I watched. It came out in the year 2000, so it was when I was growing up. I was always growing up around these movies. This first one, it does a great job at taking itself seriously, but not taking itself too seriously. It finds a perfect balance of having these realistic death scenes that the rest of the franchise really starts to jump the shark on in some of them. This one felt really grounded, where it's just someone gets hit by a bus, or somebody gets choked in the shower. So it's stuff that can happen. I mean, the shower one seems unrealistic, kind of the way he falls, but also I really love that Death kind of tries to track the water back, like he's trying to hide the evidence.
Yeah.
That's the only time that Death has done that in the series, and I love it. Devon Sawa, I think, is really good. Ali Larter's a standout, as clear to me. Tony Todd gives a great performance as somebody who has lived through this kind of experience and is able to be the guide to our main character. So I really, really love this movie.
Yeah, I think if you go with like 2000s horror, like I think this is just one of those really good movies. But I think, it just doesn't normally get the love that I think it should get, because I understand, like, it's not a perfect movie. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense, and they're just trying to like find what they're gonna do with the movie, because it was devised as like a
An X-Files
Files
episode.
episode turned into a movie,
Mm-hmm.
which I think you can kind of feel as you're watching the movie, but not in a bad way. I kind of like that. Like, it has like this cool like dark twist, and the premonition happens, and it is setting up, without even maybe even realizing it, setting up just a great foundation for a franchise, and just like showing that the scary premonition that happens, and then everyone is going to be picked off. It's like you think you've survived something for good, and it's like, no, you don't want to fuck with that Mac Daddy. He's coming back for you.
Yeah.
And he's gonna get you. And not only that, but it's just in the most horrific ways you could probably even think of. And it's not like a masked killer, like in Scream, that you can just like trip down the stairs or something. It's a killer that you can't see, that's just gonna get you. You can't even.
Yeah,
There's really
it's the
nothing.
greatest killer of all time, Death.
Yeah. It's really silly in some ways, but I think it's also really like, trying to do a lot of good work of kind of like what the original Scream did, and like giving you actual characters that you like. Because when you compare this with some of these characters from some of the characters that you'll see later on, I think some of these characters are ones that you can actually really root for, especially Alex and Clear in the movie, and seeing their relationship build. Unfortunately, their relationship just stays in this movie. They couldn't bring it on. I wish they could have had Alex in the next movie.
Yeah.
More of that, but it is what it is. But I think
that kind of starts the like, what are these rules that we're supposed to follow that's just still continuing today?
Yeah.
We'll get to as the movies go along.
It established so much, and I love how they kind of play with the rules in the next movies and just kind of make it a little bit different. But yeah, this is a great like foundational movie. I always love watching it, and I just think it's really fun to see Sean William Scott go Carter, you dick, all the time. I almost thought that like maybe it would cut to Billy's tombstone and it would say Carter, you dick on the
oh, that'd be great.
But anyways, oh, and the movie kind of ends a little bit with like a big like action sequence, which is really cool. So, but yeah, Carrie, do you have any thoughts on the first Final Destination?
Yeah, I really like this one. I still think this is probably the best one, this original one. This is my personal favorite.
Yeah.
There are others I do definitely like in this franchise. I only think one of them is really like completely unwatchable. But I do feel like the more time you spend in this franchise, like the more ridiculous the rules become. Like if you think too much about the concepts in the movie, it's kind of like none of this really makes any sense. But this one, I don't know. I don't think you have to think too much about it while you're watching it. It's just kind of fun. And yeah, it's just, I think, a classic.
Yeah, classic for sure. It's like deliciously 2000.
Yes, it is.
It just, I don't know. It just makes me, because this came out when I was like 10, and it like just makes me like.
I was 4.
Nice. I kind of just like miss those times. As much as we have like great technology like we're using now to do this show, it just kind of like, you know, makes me think back to that glorious time of the 90s and 2000s. And I know I'm romanticizing the past that was, you know, probably not as great as I'm remembering, but, you know, just, I don't know.
Every generation does that.
This movie gets me in that place where I'm just like, oh, man.
So I do have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
If you had to pick your one favorite death scene in this film, which one would it be? Because there's so many iconic ones.
Okay. You know what? I think it's Val Luton's. As ridiculous as it is.
The house fire?
Yeah, there's just something about it that's just so crazy and kind of funny. I love how she's like, you know, setting up. She's talking about how Rocky Mountain High is her like her mother's favorite song, and she's listening to it, and that becomes kind of, well, just at least for just this movie, it becomes like the staple of, you know, the song that plays when something shit's about to happen. And then like I know people talk about how ridiculous like the things that she does to get to the point of the death are, but I don't really like think too hard about it. I just think it's like really crazy once it starts happening. Like computer explodes, she gets the glass in her neck, and then like the fire starts happening, but she's like on the floor trying to get up or whatever.
Grab a napkin that's like on top.
Pulls the knives down. One end lands in her chest. It's like a Looney Tunes.
It just keeps going.
And then the explosion happens. It knocks the chair, and that knocks the knife deeper into her, which does kill her. And then
the house explodes.
Well, Alex shows up and pulls out the knife like an idiot.
Yeah.
And then he's already implicated in this whole mess because he's shouted, you know, a bomb threat or whatever before the plane actually exploded.
I mean, it was a bomb threat. He said the plane is going to explode.
Yeah. And so of course, like why he's not like arrested, I don't know. But it is you know, cool. What about you? What is yours?
So mine would have to be Billy. So Sean William Scott's character. I love just how instant it is, and there's not a lot of, you know, build up to it. It's more of, oh, a train's coming, we can't get the car out, they finally get it out, and this is where you have the really cool shot of the bus, you know, hitting into the car as they escape, and then right after that, he's just screaming like, I'm never gonna die, and then boom, just a piece of the metal just cuts like half his head off, and it just rolls.
And this one actually makes me really sad because I really like Billy. Billy's just kind of innocent and sweet and just like he seems like a total bro. Like he goes on the plane wearing like Rangers jerseys, eating his chocolates, and
Hard to you, dick.
Yeah, but he's bullied. You know, he just wants to ride his bike. You know. Maybe hit on this one girl that he's too afraid to ask out, you know. But he also acts like Alex is some sort of like god. I don't know. Yeah, it just makes me sad when he dies. But it is a really cool scene. Hey, Carrie, what about you? What is your favorite death scene?
Man, I don't know. It's hard to pick in this one. Like none of them.
It doesn't have to be unique. I mean, it could be one we said, or maybe something else you want to highlight.
Yeah, I like the sign one at the end. Like
that's a good one.
Shocker. I think when you first watch this movie, you think that maybe they do like make it out okay, and then the sign one just like hits, and it's like, oh man, that's how it ends.
And I love how the sign has the Le Cafe Miro, that is a nod to, well, not a nod, but like they continue that in the fifth movie, so then that becomes an Easter egg from the past, which is kind of cool. And of course, you know, you've already kind of hinted at it, Hunter, is that the great bus death with Terry is just incredible. It's not elaborate. It's not, you know, anything like too crazy, but like it's so sudden and unexpected
And the funniest thing about that is she is like screaming at the group, and she goes, "If you think this, you can get hit by a boom."
Yeah,
and the bus like just like stops her midway.
And that bus death, I guess that then later coupled with the Mean Girls bus hit, just has me anytime anybody walks into a street in a movie, I'm always like bracing for it. Like, are they
Where's the bus coming from?
I feel like Final Destination set that trope, and it just like kind of just scares the shit out of me now anytime somebody walks on the street. But anyways, as we said, Final Destination is a classic. We all seem to love it. Yeah, so let's go on to the next one. Final Destination 2, 2003. David R. Ellis directed this one. And the only returning character, Clear Rivers from or Ali Larter as Clear Rivers. Entirely, well, that and Tony Todd, of course.
Yep.
But this is like a whole new cast, and they're doing things a little bit differently here. I guess I'll go ahead and start with this one.
Okay.
Final Destination 2. I don't know. Sometimes I kind of like this one a little bit more than the first one. I think it's just because we get, as sequels generally do, I think we get more kills. We get more like elaborate kills. And that opening sequence, I think, just totally tops the first one. With the logs and the cars and just everything that's going on, how it's directed. David R. Ellis being like a rest in peace, being like a stunt coordinator prior to being a director. He knew what he was doing. He gave us something like magnificent to behold when you're watching. Even if you don't watch the whole movie, just watch that sequence, and it's just incredible. And then
the sequence that terrified millions of people on the road.
Yeah. So you were afraid to ride in a plane then, and now apparently planes
behind log trucks.
Planes are even more scary now, but than they were in 2000. But yeah, Final Destination 2 scared everyone who drives a car. Just driving behind any trucks, beside trucks. I know Carrie's always scared to drive near trucks. Probably even more if you watch Final Destination 2.
Yeah, I have a weird kind of story about this. Our car, me and my family's car, got pretty much, we ran out of gas on the side of the road, and we saw like 6 log trucks back to back, and we were like, "Oh God, don't tell me this is the Final Destination 2 situation."
Yeah, I mean that's scary. You got to be safe, but yeah, I love how this unfolds. I think Kimberly, AJ Cook, played by AJ Cook, is a really great character. I like a lot of the characters in this. I think the mother and son thing is really weird.
Yeah,
but
that's really weird.
A lot of them are really fun. I like her relationship. Like you get that Alex and Clear in the first movie, and here you get what is it? Tim Burke.
And Burke, yeah,
and Kimberly together, like so the cop and the main girl,
college student.
The college student. What?
She's in college. I'm just pointing it out.
What do you mean?
I just think it's weird. It's fine.
Oh, well, I mean, they're not like romantically involved. They're just like trying.
It seems like they were kind of getting to that.
Really?
I don't know. I always got that vibe.
Oh.
I always thought that Thomas and Kimberly were together. Yeah.
Oh, I always thought that they were just trying to stop the deaths, but
okay. I mean that's the main plot point. But I'm pretty sure you're supposed to see them as like a like slowly getting together.
No, I guess I could see. I mean, they always kind of have that thrust into movies for some reason. Like it doesn't have to be, but yeah, I can see where you're coming from. But despite that, whether that relationship is weird or not, I enjoy this movie just as a whole. I mean, I just think like the death scenes, and we'll get there because I guess we're going to do this with every movie, our favorite death scenes. I just think it's just a really, really fun one. Carrie, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think this one's also really good. Like, mostly just for like the deaths in it, and I don't know. I don't think the character development is like, I think you care a lot more about the characters from the first Final Destination, and it's like
Yeah.
really less fleshed out in this one. Um, but I do really like this one, and it is like that log truck scene. I mean, I think that is something that like I know even before I saw this movie, like I didn't watch this movie till I was like older, but I knew like growing up about that scene and about like, logs just flying off the truck
Yep.
and stuff. Like that's so ingrained. So I think it's really great for that. And I think it is like this opening scene, I think is the one when people think of Final Destination, like the franchise. I feel like it is like the scene, at least I think of when I think of like the opening scenes. Like that's the one I think of out of all the movies.
Yeah. Hunter, what do you think about this?
So this one fluctuates with the first one as being my two favorites. So, they're always fighting back and forth daily about which one's going to be first, which one's going to be second. I really like this movie. I really like how they kind of took what happened in the first movie with Clear and they expanded on that. Like, what would happen to somebody who was trying to survive death? And would they be seen crazy? What type of preventions would somebody go to stop death? And in Clear's case, it's being locked up in a pretty much a padded room where nothing sharp, nothing around her, but she's living a miserable life. I like how they kind of had that story about like, survival plus, having versus having a good life would be. I really like Kimberly as our main character. I think she's a good addition to the person who has the premonition, our main characters. She's one of the ones that I think about along with Alex, where it's just like, when you think of survivors and you think of, this franchise, I think you also think of her as well. I will say the only thing that annoyed me a little bit was that they killed Alex off in the dumbest way
Yeah.
possible, off screen with
Yeah.
a like a news article about a falling brick, and you're just like, okay, man. Like,
Yeah.
I also like how they introduced the rule of if you want to survive death, you have to bring in life. I like that duality of every time someone dies, someone is born. And I think that uses that element really well. So yeah, this is high up for me on my list.
Yeah, and I do agree with you. I've even been like telling Carrie, like, man, they should have, just killed off like in two, instead of saying Alex killed by, random brick, like say that he was killed like during that, like, billboard scene, like it swung and hit Carter and then swung back or something, rather than just like randomly later. I don't know, I just feel
I,
like
I I I do also get the idea of why they went that route of something completely different, killing Alex, because it's the idea that just walking down the street, death can find you.
mm,
And
yeah.
I like that randomness. I just wish they wouldn't have killed Alex off.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they had to if they couldn't get Devon Sawa to like come back or something. But it is what it is. But yeah, I do like how they, kind of have Kimberly and Thomas. Um, I guess being safe at the end. The whole, it's kind of gives me like a the Frighteners vibe,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like you have to kind of die and then be brought back to get
To
rid of
stop the curse.
yeah, to stop this thing, or do something. It just always feels like flirting with death is
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like a really like fun.
That's literally the premise of Flatliners.
Yeah, so yep. Yeah, so it's just such an interesting idea. I get why multiple movies have uh
I will say this. I also like
touched on it.
how every main character in these franchises, their last names are tied into a famous horror director. So Kimberly, her last name is Corman. So of course
Mhm.
Roger Corman. You think of like Little Shop of Horrors, a lot of different, especially 60s and 70s horror movies. You've got Tim Carpenter, the little boy, John Carpenter, of course, Alex Browning, Todd Browning, just so many, like, you can tell that the people who work on this franchise are huge horror fans.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's just a lot of movies do that, where they're always like the horror genre is filled with people making horror movies and just like naming their characters after famous directors or other horror characters from old, and like the Loomis name that's everywhere.
It's been followed for generations.
Yeah, so that's two. I think two rules. That the first two are great, like double feature there. All right, so let's move on. The deaths.
Yeah,
Carrie, what's your favorite death scene?
Yeah, well, this one's hard.
You can't say the premonition.
I know. I feel like the premonition is always like the best part of all of these movies, because like after that, like nothing else tops.
You can pass, I guess.
No, it's okay. I'll say the woman who gets like impaled by the
pipe.
The pipe in the car.
Yeah.
Off because she thinks she's safe, and then it's just like, no, you're not. And like, I don't know. That one's like, I feel like is like one of the more realistic kind of ones, and those are always really scary.
That one's really gruesome. I really love that one because it's kind of funny, because that the asshole guy's like, she's like, can you keep it down or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I'll turn down this machine, and then he starts like being like a jackass with it and just ends up deploying the airbag. Really quick one, but I really love that one too.
Yeah.
Hunter.
If it's on to me, I know mine immediately. I believe it's Frankie is the character's name.
Frankie isn't. Yes. No, Frankie is in the third movie.
I know there's a Frankie in 3, but it's the one who gets cut in half in 3s.
That's Rory.
Oh, Rory. There we go.
Yeah.
On Letterboxd, they have a character named Frankie on there, so I thought it was him. Yeah, I love that death. It hits you out of nowhere, and then I like how after he's cut in thirds, the body just like stands there for a second, and then it slowly just slides in 3s, and you're just like, what just happened there? That's one that like always sticks in my head.
One note, Frankie is one of Kimberly's friends that dies like very early on.
Right.
That's what I just looked it up because I was like, what is he talking about? Oh, okay, that's what he's talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this death scene is awesome, and I love like a lot of the stuff that information that I know is from like the kill count. All hail the kill counts. They're great. Dead meat. I love learning about that they did that practically.
Yes.
It's really cool because it's unexpected, and I feel like the actor just acts the shit out of that. And also, he's kind of like an idiot, but
he's the stoner of the group.
Yeah, he's kind of an idiot. He's rude sometimes and like creepy at other times, but he's not one that I wanted to see die. I kind of like that character. Mine is the Evan Lewis death. Is
that the kid who gets crushed by the pane of glass?
No, that's Tim.
Okay.
Evan Lewis is the guy that won the lotto and gets impaled through the eye.
Oh, right.
I just love that scene because this guy, he won $250,000, which is not a lot of money, but I guess maybe in the 2003 it was.
For inflation, that was pretty high.
But still, even though that was more money than it is now, then this dude, instead of like putting it in a savings, he's got like a MacBook, a Rolex.
To be fair, though, he is doing stuff that I can see someone his age in the 2000s buying, spending his money on, especially since he's single.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I just think it's funny, just him carrying all this stuff, and that's setting it up right there because you've seen the first movie, so this is the first death after her friends all die. You get to wonder, like, what is he going to do? Trip down the stairs, all this stuff on the stairs, and then he ends up in the apartment, just making so many bad choices, to put his arm down the drain with his watch on.
I love that it just keeps teasing you like multiple
Yeah.
ways this character can die.
Yeah, those are the best deaths in the franchise, is when it keeps teasing you of what it could be, and you think, oh, it's that. Oh no, it's not that. Oh, it's this. Oh,
And then it's something completely different that they didn't even bring up.
they throw a curveball at you, and then they nail it, and then you go, oh my god, I didn't see that coming. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just love this one. I love that they're playing Incubus, because I love that Incubus album that they're playing.
Definitely came out in 2002. I'll tell you that.
2003. Yeah, for sure. He goes out of the window, thinks he's safe, and then just gets impaled through the eye. I just think it's so crazy.
What I love is the
spaghetti that he threw out the window.
Yes, the fire escape, like the ladder like drops, it stops. And he breathes like, okay, I'm good. And then it crushes him. It's like death is just like playing with him.
Yep. Yeah, those are great deaths. We talked about the pane of glass. I think that one's that's the other one that I might have picked, is Tim going through that whole dentist appointment. Mm-hmm. You think he's gonna suffocate with that, blowfish in his mouth, or maybe the dentist like overdoses him on
there are so many ridiculous
laughing gas, or maybe he drills him to death, or so. I don't know. You could think about a million different ways to die in a dentist office, and then it's because he fucks with some pigeons.
Yep.
That he ends up being crushed by glass. I just think it's great. The lady gets decapitated. There's so many different cool deaths in this. We can move on to the third movie, Final Destination 3. 2006. Directed James Wong returning, but no one else returning from the other movies.
Except Tony Todd in a voice cameo.
In the voice, because he doesn't actually show up, right?
No. Bloodworth is not in this movie.
Yeah, okay. So, Carrie, do you want to start about 3?
Yeah, this one, again, kind of similar to 2. I feel like 2 is a little bit more iconic, but this one, I think, with the roller coaster, is also really iconic. And like Mary Elizabeth Winstead, with the exception of 4 and maybe even 5, I think the leads in these movies are like pretty solid actors and like really do a lot to carry the movies. And definitely Mary Elizabeth Winstead does that. I'd say the supporting cast in this may be a little bit weaker than some of the other movies. I think it makes up for it kind of in like some of the most interesting deaths are in this movie, I think. And I think the ending of this movie is really fantastic. A lot of like, in 1 and 2, we kind of get like Alex dies off screen. In 2, it's kind of implied that Kimberly and Burke don't die at all. This one is like, it's a solid, like, they're all 3 in that train car. They all 3 get killed in another horrific accident. Like that ending is really cool.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty solid one. There's some stuff in the middle that, I could do without. Like, it kind of just gets a little like repetitive sometimes, but I think overall it's a really solid one.
Yeah, Hunter.
So this, I kind of made a mistake. The first Final Destination film was not the first one I watched. It was this one, Final Destination 3, because they used to run this almost every night on the Sci-Fi Channel, and I just watch it constantly, just like, either all the way through or just kept glimpses of it. But this was the first one of the series that I watched, and I was like, okay, I love the idea of this franchise, and it could be, just the nostalgia talking, but I remember actually liking most of the characters in here, even though some of the side characters are of their time, I will say, but the deaths are really great. I love Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Wendy, and I think some of the ideas really it works off of 2 very well, because it doesn't feel like it's just completely separate from the first 2. It feels like this is a franchise where all of these characters are in the same universe. Like they even mention Alex in this movie when they're talking about going through the yearbooks and stuff, and you realize, oh, they go to the same high school as Alex, and you get like all these little nice little tie-ins that I really like.
Because, well, is that true? Because I know they go to McKinley High School, but in the first one they go to Mount Abraham.
Oh,
So I'm trying to remember how that works. Like from maybe they see like I don't
maybe
know.
it's a rival school.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. I just remember.
Maybe
I just
that's
know
what I
like
was thinking.
it's different. But I do know they talk about like they talk about the past, learning from the past, trying to figure out what's happening to them, and stuff. Yeah. I think this one's good. I really like this one because of the kills, and I think a roller coaster is a great setup. Airplanes are scary. Driving can sometimes be scary, but roller coaster, you strap in, it's out of your control. If it's not built right, maybe something could happen. Or if some asshole brings their camera on board and
Frankie.
that flies off and whatever. I think they have like maybe hopefully more safety protocols in place here, but you could easily see someone like going around the rules and messing it up. But one of those things, I know Carrie's just in general scared of roller coasters, but something like this wouldn't help that. It's not going to stop me from riding roller coasters, but yeah,
I
it's
love roller
definitely
coasters.
a scary one to consider. I love all the different kind of scary things that people can exploit and be like, well, what if the worst thing happened?
Mm-hmm.
And then it ends up all being a premonition. And then how do you stop that? And then what happens afterwards? So I think the setup is really great in this. Carrie mentioned the ending. I think the ending is so good because you know what's coming and you're powerless to stop it. And you're on a train now, and there you go. It's done.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do to stop it. And I
And
will say this one also has most of my favorite kills.
Yeah.
Setup kills, because every time I think of kills in the franchise, I think of this one. Whether it's the nail gun kill, which I absolutely love, where he's shooting the pigeons and then all of a sudden she like backs up into it and just multiple nails into the back of the head. You think of the suntan.
We'll get to the kills at the end. That's the format that we've been doing. Hunter.
I was just talking just in general about all the kills.
I gotcha. Yeah, I was also going to mention that I think the reason why I also really enjoy this one is because I agree. I think it does have some of the best kills. I think that the nail gun one is great. I think I do know what my favorite is, and we'll get there. But I'm sure maybe we might all be battling for the same ones. I'm not sure, but yeah. Carrie also mentioned that Mary Elizabeth is like capital A acting in this. But she's just great, just in general. So it feels like I haven't seen her in forever, but and stuff. She brings it to a new level that we didn't really get in the first movie. We didn't get any like capital A acting like that. Second movie, I think AJ Cook like does her best, but Mary Elizabeth Winstead, you can't get better than her up until this point. So yeah, I think this has a lot going for it, but yeah, there are some not so great characters in it. I know that's kind of maybe divisive, but I think that the characters are kind of written to be all jerks basically, except for the main girl and maybe Ryan Merriman, but even he Carrie and I were talking about sits there and like is taking pictures of girls, trying to take pictures of girls naked or whatever, and stuff at the very beginning. So it also sets him up as a weird creep. So I don't know. even the main guy is not a good guy. So I don't know.
This was the start of the series, just making characters we hate so we can see them die.
Exactly. That's why when we get to it, I think the sixth one did a really good job at kind of changing the formula in that way. because I feel like a lot of those characters you don't want to see die.
Yeah.
So they actually add a bit of sadness to it. Like I said with Billy, I didn't want to see Billy die because I like that character, and same with the second one. I feel like some of the characters you don't want to like. You see Kimberly and Thomas, and you want to see them make it out because they're pretty innocent and good guys and stuff
I
like
mean,
that.
Thomas is a cop in second one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're good people, and you just want to see them make it out. And the third one, you just get a lot of jerks. But it is what it is. Let's get to the kills. Hunter, you were eager to talk about it. What's your favorite kill of this one?
So I could go the obvious, but I'm gonna go with one that I actually really, really love, and it's Ian's death. Ian getting crushed by the McKinley sign.
Okay.
One, because his last name is McKinley, so literally it's someone with his last name taking him out.
Yeah, right.
That. Two, Ian has a turn in this movie where he starts to try to kill other people to gain their life, pretty much. And I like the idea that it's happening at this big fireworks event. You're not sure what's going to happen. Another one where it's like, all right, what object is going to take out this dude? And it's something completely unexpected, because you're like, oh, there's fireworks right there. Maybe one's going to hit him, or you've got so many options around you, and it's this big sign. He's sitting there with the gun, very suspenseful. Then all of a sudden, the sign just boom comes down and crushes him.
Slams on
him. I love that he has his finger like flipping him off, and he's like, his hand is shaking and twitching. That's a really nice detail that I love. So yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah, he's like kind of I'm invincible.
Yeah,
kind of a deal.
And you're not.
Slam! It like slams on him so hard. My only issue with that kill, because I do think it's really cool and unexpected, is that I feel like it looks kind of bad. Like
that's fair.
Whereas like if you see like the same thing that happened in 2 with the Tim being crushed by the glass, that was done like all practically and looks really good. And this one just kind of looks bad.
This is where the CGI blood started getting. It wasn't bad, and it definitely will get worse. But
yeah. But I agree with you that I think the setup and the character stuff is. I like the Ian and God, I'm forgetting her name, but Ian and his girlfriend,
the Goths, pretty much.
Ian and Aaron. That's it, yeah. Aaron. I like Ian and Aaron as like this kind of like they're like these, not goth, but they're like this kind of dark,
the alternative kids.
The alternative kids. They're like dark, kind of punk, but like macabre. Where you feel like maybe they're dabbling and like looking at the Necronomicon or something, but they're working at a hardware store together, and it's just like an interesting dynamic. But then he's shooting pigeons, which makes me hate him. And then of course he goes into total. I mean, of course he's like yelling at the funeral too, and he's like, "Oh, whatever, priest," kind of a deal. And I don't know. So he's kind of like the Carter, I guess.
He's a character that throughout the whole movie, you can see why that person would snap and just try to kill everybody to gain their life.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's an interesting kill. I was gonna say we're on 3. I'm between 2. I want Carrie. Can you narrow this down for me and pick something?
Oh, I mean, my favorite from 3 is one of my favorites in the whole franchise, and that's the Tanning Beth.
Okay.
I mean, those are like, and Hunter was like, I'm not going to go with the obvious. That's
not obvious.
I mean, those are, again, when you think about like classic deaths in this franchise and things that people like, I feel like that this franchise has made people scared of that weren't really scary before. The tanning beds are like one of those things for sure. And then I feel like that is like a lot of times watching some of the Rube Goldberg traps or whatever, I just get kind of frustrated because I'm like, this is a little ridiculous, going on forever. But I feel like this is one where it's really well done. I feel like there's some tension, but like you know where things are going, and they end up where you think it's gonna go. And
Yep.
it's just like really satisfying.
I will say the only thing I don't like about that scene is how dumb the owner is. One, he doesn't have his keys on him, and two, he props up the door with tanning lotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because over at, I think it's now TBNT Inc. is the channel, a spinoff of the multiplex like trivia channel. They did debate, fan zone debate, and then they've moved it over to this new channel. And I debated my buddy Will Cohen. We did a Final Destination debate of kills, and he picked a kill that we might talk about from the fourth movie. And I picked this tanning bed kill, and I just like went off just explaining how brilliant this kill is. So this is one of the ones that I was thinking about picking, and then I have another one that I really like as well. I love it. I think that this kill is just so well constructed, and they're making all the dumbest decisions that you could make leading to this. So it's like they're not like bad characters necessarily.
I mean, they're kind of the mean girls, aren't they?
I guess they're, yeah, you're right. They are kind of the mean girls, and they're like kind of, ditzy and just like, just not really caring about the rules and stuff like that. So they kind of like, put it on themselves, and then you see it all unfold, and then you see the behind the scenes that, someone actually was in there on fire, actually doing it, which is crazy. And then you get the jump cut from the tanning beds to the coffins. And
that was so funny.
It's a great comedic moment. Yeah, it's just a great scene. To carry that's probably the number one, just objectively or whatever. I wanted to pick Frankie's death, like this Frankie's death.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, it's the one where the engine comes out of the car and just chops up his head.
Mm-hmm.
And this is terrifying. I don't know how realistic this actually is, if it could ever happen, but if it could, that's terrifying. Just thinking about something like this happening, and like learning about like the behind the scenes about how they actually built that whole drive-through to show the truck coming down. They're like, this is the perfect site for this, but there's no drive-through here. Let's just build one. And I think that's really really cool, and it's just really scary. So and also very hard to watch, but also the tanning bed one is kind of hard to watch in some ways too. So yeah, they're really upping the ante, I think, with the kills in this one.
Yep. Honorable mention for me also is Lewis's death in the gym, where he's just pumping iron, and all of a sudden you think it's gonna be the swords that take him out, and then it's just like the machine breaks and just crushes his head.
Yeah, that one's cool. All right, I guess we can move on to the Final Destination, which is pretty much unanimously everyone that I've heard thinks this is the worst one. Hunter, you start with this abomination. Go ahead.
I don't know how the person who did Final Destination 2 went on to do this one.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Great.
But yeah, this movie's bad. You hate almost every character, like right off the bat too. Like you don't like even our main characters. I don't like that much. I'm just like, oh, okay, you're 20-year-olds and you're boring. And then if you're not boring, you're assholes.
Yeah.
Nobody's likable in this movie. I'm trying to think. The only good thing I can think of is Nick Zano is hilarious in this movie as Hunt.
Hunt, yeah.
A complete asshole, but he's funny.
Yeah.
And just like I don't know what to say about this movie, man. They tried to do it in 3D, so even if you watch it in 2D, like a standard edition, you've got all those pull-ins and the poles are coming at you, and whoa, and it looks off because you don't have the 3D glasses. You don't have nothing that kind of makes it project out. So now
I'm sure it looks bad even with the 3D glass.
That's fair. That's fair. The CGI blood is awful in this movie. You know me. I try to find the positives in everything, and I don't like this movie.
Yeah, no, I do know you, and you are like that, and you even hating this movie is a telltale kind of thing. Anything else to add, or
No.
move on to me? Yeah, this movie is barely watchable. I mean, I like the setup of it. Like, I like the idea of it being at like a NASCAR, not NASCAR, but like some like McKinley Speedway, like local
Yeah.
car race event. I think, a lot of crazy shit could happen with that. I mean, it's similar to the second one. It just, instead of a highway, it's a enclosed car thing. And you're just spectators in the stands being massacred by poor foundation of the speedway itself, cars wrecking and parts flying out everywhere.
One of the machines lands on a woman, and it has the cartoon sound effect. The
Yeah, it's weird that they added so much stuff because apparently they filmed a lot of it practically, and it like apparently once looked pretty good. And then they CGI'd over it and just added, like you said, sound effects and
the 3D effects.
Tried to add this layer of 3D and just like, kind of made it cartoonish and dumb looking, and just kind of like looks like an amateur made it. And we know an amateur did not make it because David R. Ellis made 2, and we just said we liked 2.
Yeah. And what sucks is David R. Ellis was known for doing practical effects because he was a stuntman. He did stunt work. So the fact that, like, I'm guessing it was a studio decision to put all that other stuff in there, because I can't see someone like him being like, let's add all these CGI blood and stuff like that. He's someone who would want to work with practical effects.
Because I think around this time, when did Spy Kids 3D come out? 2003.
It was 2008.
2003.
So, 2003.
Yeah, so it was around this kind of time where that was probably successful, and then they were like, they just made 3, and then they were like, well, I guess they made 3 like 2006, so this was 2009, so it's still really way late for trying to add 3D and stuff, but
this was probably in response to Avatar. I believe Avatar was 2008, wasn't it?
2009, so it came out at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not, but I don't know. Either way, it's just bad looking. Like you said, the characters, not even so. Like with Final Destination 3, the characters are jerks a lot of the times, but they're interesting. And here, like you said, they don't even have like good actors in here, so it just like doesn't even seem interesting. It's not really watchable even in that way. I mean, like you said, like Hunt is kind of funny. I love that they have McKelty Williamson, and he's good. I like him in it, but he's barely a character.
He's barely in the movie.
They don't really give him much to do, and everything. So I think some of the kills, which we'll get to a few of them, are kind of funny and kind of cool in a way. Maybe not the most well executed. And I know some people like talk about the dual like water stuff that happened, like you have the guy in the pool and the girl at the car wash, like that dual thing is kind of well set up, and there's the whole premonition at the movie theater I think is kind of cool, but just everything else in between, it just like could have been so much better. I feel like there's a good movie in here somewhere if they had just like crafted it better. I guess you could say that about any bad movie. But you know what I'm saying. Like I feel like there's bones, like there's good ideas in there that could have yielded a better product, but it's not a good movie. I don't like it. Carrie, what do you think about the Final Destination?
Yeah, I mean it's horrible. It's like you guys have said, the CGI is horrible. Like one of the good things about this movie is like the deaths are usually like interesting and well done, and like in this one you just don't even have that because the CGI on most of these is just so horrendous. Like the opening scene is like it's a joke. I mean, it like I don't know. It's like things are like barely happening, but it's so obviously fake. It's like not fun at all. You're just like, oh, okay, they put this on, put this into a movie because it's not like they put it on camera because you know it's like so heavily edited. It's just it's bad. Like you guys said, the acting isn't really good for most of the actors in this one. Like couldn't really tell you many of the character names, really what happens in this one after the opening scene. And I've seen it like at least once or twice, but yeah.
Yeah.
So fun fact, I'm looking up like on Letterboxd to have the actors and stuff. The racist character is named just racist. I don't think he has a character name.
Carter?
Not Carter. In this one, in Final Station.
Yeah, the racist guy's name's Carter.
Really? Because on here he's credited as racist.
Oh, Carter Daniels, is his name. And speaking of that, I'll go into because it's I think it's my turn to come up with the kill. I'll go with this kill, because Carter it's weird that they named him the same name as in the first movie. That's where the confusion comes from. But when talking about like best deaths, when I did that one debate I was talking about, my buddy Will picked this one. And I think it's a brilliant choice because it's kind of hard to argue against it, where it's like, it's a funny death because of everything that happens, but also how can you not like clap for some racist asshole dying of his own kind of accord, getting hooked by his own tow truck, dragged by it, caught on fire, all to Why Can't We Be Friends?
Right in front of the black guy he was racist against.
Yeah, when he was about to like burn a cross in his yard. And
no one talked about that. He was about to set a cross on fire in this man's yard.
Yeah, the guy who, the only thing he did to him was like said something to him during the thing. But he only said that to him because he was actively being racist there.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't be racist to someone, then get mad when they defend themselves.
No.
So, and then, go and try to do this. And so, yeah, seeing him get his just desserts is really funny in this movie. And it's carried out in a very funny way. And I do think there's other ones to pick from that I think are really cool. But I think this is the most like entertaining death of the bunch. Carrie, do you have any deaths that you would highlight?
Yeah, I just that one. I mean, that's the only one I really remember besides the opening scene.
I think I'll highlight one more then for you, but I won't highlight the one that I think Hunter might bring up. I'm going to highlight one that's actually, I think, a premonition, but it's later in the movie. It's when the girl gets like sucked into the escalator.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Holy shit. That one's insane. And just thinking about being like slowly pulled into an escalator and crushed like that is just crazy. But yeah, Hunter, do you have one that you think is pretty fun?
Yeah, it's the only other one in the movie that I thought was just a kind of cool idea. And even the execution of this one is not even that good. It's Hunt's death.
Yeah.
In the pool. Because
the
idea of him being sucked into the pump is really cool. But then when the blood spurts out and it's CGI and it looks so bad, you're like, if that was practical, that would be like a golden kill right there. But you had to go and cheapen it with the weird CGI blood.
I think they said they couldn't do the actual blood effects because it's like they filmed that at a public pool or something. But
that's fair. But still, work on your CG then.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But yeah, it is a really funny death. The way it's edited is kind of cool between that and the car wash one. And then it's just...
Actually, you know what? I'm going to change my pick. Sorry, I just thought of a better one. And that's Christy Allen's character death. Samantha, I think.
Death?
So that's the one where the rock, like...
Oh, through the eye. Okay.
and the rock goes through her eye.
Mm.
I don't know. That one, at least, it was funny because she was like, I have my eyes on you. And then the thing just goes right through her eye. And even in that one, I think the CGI looked better in that one because it wasn't this big, grandiose thing. It was just like a makeup effect through the eye. So it looked better.
Yeah, that one's kind of sad, though, because, the kids are she's got kids. But
yeah, but also, like, I like how in this one, there's multiple things that can take her out. She's at a hairdresser. So you have like the she's getting her hair done, and like right next to the iron. Like, is she gonna get burned? Is this gonna happen? Is this gonna happen? Is the ceiling fan gonna follow her all of a sudden?
Yeah. It mirrors Tim's death from 2, where he escapes the dentist, and then something sort of unrelated kills him.
Yeah.
All right. So we don't like this movie. If you started this video thinking we were gonna, there's no way you did, because it's like unanimous. No one says this is a good movie. No one that I've met, at least, even though it has like some things that we can find that we kind of like. But we can move on to a movie that was kind of seen as like before Bloodlines came out, was seen as like a sort of resurgence for the franchise that like kind of tied in a really cool way into the franchise overall, but also kind of did something that the previous movies didn't do. It's kind of weird that this one came out in like 2011 and then didn't spawn any other Final Destination movies until Bloodlines came out. This one is Stephen Quayle, so a new director. Kind of all new cast except for Tony Todd showing up. Really cool, kind of like it feels like a reset almost. Even though we find out it's also a secret prequel, which we'll get to. But Final Destination 5, I think is really cool.
Did he change the poster?
Final Destination 5, I think, is really cool. There's some flaws in it for sure. I mean, there's some of the deaths and stuff look kind of fake, especially like the first like premonition. They're making a whole bridge collapse, which I think a bridge collapsing is a pretty cool like beginning premonition. Over here in Carrie and I's neck of the woods, our key bridge or whatever like collapsed.
No.
Big news story. You didn't hear about that, Hunter? That was a big news story that happened. Like a boat hit the bridge and then it collapsed.
Wow. And
so Carrie and I woke up to being like, that one big bridge, it's done. It's crazy. So yeah, bridge accidents can happen, and so that does make this one kind of scary. But what I like about this one is that it seems to add something that the previous movies didn't really have, but that they sort of tried to have, but didn't really fully have, is like character development, and I think characters that you actually kind of care about and want to see succeed with like stories that, I'm mostly talking about like the main characters. Some of the side workers, are still kind of the same thing. Like the one guy that goes to the massage parlor that's, just a horny asshole. So they have those characters as well, but then you have like other ones that, you actually do want to see succeed and stuff. You have the boss.
David Koechner.
Thank you, Koechner. David Koechner.
Yes.
I was gonna say Champ Kind. Some great characters, some not so great characters, but I feel like they really tried with this one to give us like a really interesting story about this office and stuff, and it also has some of the best kills. I think there's one clear best kill from this, but there's definitely a few worth noting for sure. I know a lot of people aren't sold on the idea of you can take a life to earn it back. You can take a life to get death off your back, basically. But I think that was like kind of like a cool new addition to it. I mean, the rest
wasn't that set up in 3 though, and they just kind of added on to that one from 5.
Was it set on at 3? Oh, because of Ian.
Because Ian tried to kill the crew to gain their life, pretty much.
I think so, but I don't. I think they kind of flesh it out a little bit more in 5.
They definitely do flesh it out in this one better.
Yeah, because Ian sort of becomes a villain, but he's like a laughable one. But this other guy
Oh
goes,
yeah.
he's a character that you actually really do care about.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also, I think they talk about in the kill count that he's basically like a
Fake Tom Cruise.
fake Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise impersonator.
Yeah, and so that's fun. But yeah, he's like a good guy that turns bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's really believable, his like arc, and really sad and kind of scary, and sets up like a really cool scene at the end. But then yeah, I love how this one also turns into. I was gonna say also turns into the secret prequel, but this is the best way I can kind of explain this. Whereas how the first four movies are one thing, and then Final Destination 5 is kind of like a whole new thing. It's kind of like how if you go through the Fast and the Furious franchise and you see the first four movies and then you watch Fast 5 and then you're like, Fast 5 is a completely different thing from those first four movies. Like this is a different formula, a different way to do this.
Fast Five started the summer blockbuster secret superhero movie we never knew we wanted.
It did. But it's also arguably the best one in that franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And so was 5 until maybe after Bloodlines, but we'll get to rankings later. But yeah, I think this is a really cool, I think, return to form, or maybe even like superseded form of this franchise, where it's like this is how this can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the first few were trying to like really, fill out, find this formula. I think 5 like really like nailed it in a special way. So yeah, sometimes I think this is my favorite, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when we factor in Bloodlines and all that too. Yeah, but 5 kind of rules. It's just a really good movie, I think, just in general. So yeah, Secret Prequel is just the best twist, I think. So. Carrie, what do you think about 5?
Yeah, 5 is really good. This one, yeah, there's parts of it in the middle that I'm kind of like, it's fine. And like some of the characters, I feel like are not like really, the characters aren't super strong in this one. But I think a lot of the deaths are really good. And that ending, like, I know this was one when I first watched it. I had no idea what was coming, and like the surprise prequel aspect of it, I think, is the strongest part of the movie. It is so cool how they did it and tied it into the first movie, and I feel like it is like the highlight of the movie.
Yeah, Hunter, what do you think about 5?
I really like 5. I think the great thing about it is that, like the first one, you care about so many of the characters that you don't want to see anything happen to them. Even a character like Peter, who you could say has a villain turn in this movie, he has a reason why he has the villain turn. It's not random. It's somebody that you can see through the movie was a really good friend of Sam's and didn't want to have to do this, but he's someone who's trying to survive. And that's the one thing that they actually took time in this movie to really sew in the friendship between Peter and Sam and Molly, and they feel like a real work group friends, like somebody who you would hang out with just at work. David, how do you say his last name? David Koechner?
I think, yeah,
he's hilarious in this movie as the boss. I really like the bridge collapsing. The only thing I don't like is in the premonition, Peter's death when he gets the poles through his eyes. That looks so fake.
It does. Yeah,
it looks so bad. But I really love, like, in the premonition, Olivia getting crushed by the car, and she's just watching it as it falls. And then, of course, the ending where you realize, oh, this takes place right before Flight 180. And if you watch the movie again, you see those Easter eggs, like Isaac going to the massage parlor. If you look on his ticket, you see the date is 1999 or 2000 or something like that. So it's a few months before the Flight 180 explosion. So that kind of sets you up in the middle of the movie. Oh, something's off. This is not taking place in the present time.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone feels like an actual fleshed out character, which I can say is a huge improvement over the Final Destination. And even somebody like, I like the romantic back and forth between Sam and Molly because they were together.
Yeah.
So you have to find somebody who has really good chemistry, and I think these two actors really do have good chemistry on screen. So yeah, I really like this one as well.
Yeah, and like the story that they build with their relationship and them kind of like breaking up, but then realizing that they just want what's best for each other, and then they're together at the end, and they're like, well, we're gonna go to Paris together.
Yeah, and even the reason they broke up wasn't like, oh, there was a fight or anything. It was, no, you want to be a cook. I'm not going to stop you from living your dream.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know I've heard some people don't like that they undercut the movie a little bit, where they undercut that by just killing them in the plane. But it's a Final Destination movie. I mean, there's similar things that we could say about spoiler in Bloodlines,
Yeah.
that we'll get to. But yeah, I think this one is a very well put together movie, and one of the best of the franchise, for sure. Yeah, Carrie, what is your favorite kill from this franchise?
My first.
If you want to be.
Oh no, yeah,
It
that's
doesn't
why I
matter.
just want to make sure I didn't miss like someone else. Sorry. I think my favorite one in this movie is the death of the perverted guy at the massage parlor. It's just
Okay.
like again, I think this is
Or
like the
Isaac.
Rube Goldberg thing, like
Isaac.
kind of classic and well done, and like to a guy who's very, you know, you're not unhappy about what happened. Like no one deserves that, but you're not unhappy. Like of people to die in a fake horror movie, like that's a character you're like, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And the Buddha statue just smiling as he crushes his head is peak comedy.
Very, very funny. And yeah, it's that one's crazy too. Just thinking about like falling off of the bed with all the acupuncture needles like poking into you. Ugh, so creepy. I know it's kind of like similar to everybody in the theater like cringing in Saw 2 when Amanda gets thrown into the needle pit.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Dude, I've seen that movie a lot, and even I like crunch up every time that scene comes.
Yep.
I'm like, they just toss her in there.
Yeah. Hunter, you have any kills?
I'm gonna go with Olivia's death. I think her death is so terrifying because we've all been put in the situation, whether you're at the dentist's office or you're getting eye surgery or like LASIK eye surgery. It's something that people do, and the idea of, oh, that can go very wrong in an instant. And not only am I blind, but I'm going to fall out of a window because I can't see anything. And then, again, it adds like a little bit of comedy to this this moment where she's strangling the teddy bear, and the teddy bear's eye pops out right after she falls out the window. It's creepy, but it's also kind of funny. And Olivia's a character that I don't think was really an asshole. She was just confident in herself. And like she had that self-confidence in herself. So to see something like that happen to her where it's just like, oh, like that's awful, man. Like she steps on her eye. Like no, the eye gets run over by a car.
Yeah.
At the end of it, and I'm like, okay, this movie is darkly funny.
Yeah, that's the thing is like most of the characters in this movie, except for David Koechner and Isaac, and are like pretty good characters. You can kind of see where they're coming from. And Olivia is no different. I like her. And then it's sad to see her death, but like you said, it's the setup of like this laser eye thing. Like you could, you go into these places, but you're in safe hands because you're under the care of professionals in a movie where death is trying to kill you. you can totally see. Maybe don't go to the eye surgery place. I don't think Olivia's like really taking it seriously. And then
Actually, she's the one who's actually taking it. She's more scared when she goes in because that's why she has the teddy bear.
that's right.
Like,
That's right.
she's like clenching onto it because she's scared.
She still goes. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Like what if, what if it's
Mhm.
real or something? And she's just genuinely afraid of the situation. Yeah, like you said, I like how this one plays out with the bear. It just makes me really sad because like the bear is supposed to be there for comfort and ends up being her undoing when she trips over the eye. And there's just so much like eye imagery in the scene. There's just like such a well put together kind of thing that I also really enjoy and I think is really fun. Yeah, I'm surprised that I get to talk about the one that I think is maybe the best in the franchise. It's just the creepiest thing I've ever seen, I think, in these movies, but just like maybe in general, is the gymnastics kit death.
Oh, I forgot this wasn't. This one came from this
Yeah.
movie. Yeah,
Candace is doing her gymnastics.
that's a great one, man.
This is another thing that sends, I think, the one guy off the deep end, the Tom Cruise.
Yeah, because that was Peter's girlfriend.
That's his girlfriend, and she dies in like one of the most
in front of him too.
Right in front of him, when he's just cheering his girlfriend on, doing gymnastics, and she gets chalk in her face, and then ends up landing in the most horrific ways you could ever see. And
the
breaking
body contorting like it's from The Exorcist.
Dude, it's just like one of the most gnarly things I've ever seen. And just the way it plays out is just so interesting and cool. And then like scary as hell. I don't know. It's just a great death, and it's just really scary and sad and everything. And yeah, it's probably maybe my favorite overall. But I don't know, maybe Bloodlines, if I think about it enough, Bloodlines has some really great ones too. So I don't know. But that being said, we all think 5 is pretty good, if not great. And we can move on for the reason of why we're doing this. Final Destination Bloodlines came out this year. And, I don't know, if you like look at like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, seeing as how most of these movies are like, around like the 40s or whatever.
Mm.
And then maybe I think the fourth one is probably even lower. And then seeing the fifth one being around like the 60s. And then before I even could see Bloodlines, just seeing like fresh, tomato 90%.
94% right now. Still.
I'm like, what? Like, that's just like kind of unheard of for a movie in this franchise. So I was already kind of hyped just because of the word of mouth and, the critics' reception and stuff. And I was pleasantly surprised. But Carrie is going to start with Bloodlines.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to get too far into it. Carrie, what do you think about this one?
Oh, this was so much fun. I think this was my first Final Destination movie I saw in a theater.
Same.
Yeah, and it was so much fun to like just have that experience. The opening scene in this one really did not disappoint. A lot of the deaths in this were fantastic. There was so much tension. Like, yeah, I mean, it really was, I think, a really fantastic movie. Like, the more I think about it, and especially like, I really do feel like 2 through 4, especially, like the budget is just so low and the quality is like, and we have a lot of nostalgia, I think, for them. But this one, I mean, this is like a full scale budget. Like they really used it very well. Like it is like almost like kind of separate and apart from a lot of the earlier movies in the franchise. Like, except maybe the first one. But just really well done, and just like so nice to have such a well done Final Destination movie for like this decade.
Totally. Hunter.
Yeah, I really love this movie. Not only because of the deaths, I think this has the best opening like premonition because of how much time is giving to not only the characters but the accident and what happens to it, and just the grand scale of like the opening. Like they're at a skyline like restaurant, and you see like how beautiful it is, and then it immediately turns into disaster. But Tony Todd giving that speech in the movie, I guess kind of spoilers for this one. This one is kind of newer, but it has been out for about 2 months, so spoiler alert. But Tony Todd giving that speech about you never know when your time is going to be, so just cherish every moment, and to find out that was Tony Todd's like legit message, like that wasn't in the script. He ad-libbed that, and then he sadly passed away after the making of it. So it was kind of like he was talking to the audience about like he knew his time was up, and he wanted people to live their lives to the fullest. And I think that's, for somebody who has been in pretty much most of these films, to give him that last send off, I think was really, really nice. I love the characters. I love the interactions between them. Again, I think this is a really good one where they tie in the family connections really well, and you love pretty much every character, even the characters that you think are assholes. They're not really assholes. They have moments of self-reflection, like Eric, the guy with the tattoos and the piercings. He looks, and he does have some asshole moments, but when he's there, at the tattoo parlor, and he's giving himself a tattoo, and you realize it's just says dad,
dude.
And you're like, oh, he's just grieving. He just grieves in a different way. Like that's somebody who has tattoos and loves what they represent. The fact that he was just like, fuck it, I'm getting a tattoo in honor of my father. All these characters that seem like assholes really get great moments to develop their characters, and I really, really like that. There are some logic issues if you kind of really look into it. Carrie and I in the group chat was also talking about that, like the idea of Kimberly being alive and surviving, but Alex not, even though he survived and was technically dead and brought back to life. And in this one, it happens, but kind of not, because apparently when your heart stops, you're not dead. And then, of course, our leads that, leads to their demise. But if you don't think about it, that deep, I think everything they did in this movie, especially having it follow a family, I think was really, really smart. I really like this movie.
Yeah, Hunter, I mean, you nailed it on the head there. That's exactly what I was going to say, is like bring up the idea that that's what they're doing differently with this one, is that they're grounding it in family relationships. I mean, it's called Bloodlines, which when I heard that, I was like, Final Destination Bloodlines, how generic does that sound? But then like
a lot of horror movie, especially horror sequels, have Bloodline as the...
Yeah. So that sounds generic, but then they actually have a good reason for why it's called Bloodline. I mean, Final Destination family. I mean,
Vin Diesel is there. Family.
Could have got Vin Diesel to be in there. He could have been one of the cousins. Because you have this, you really do pretty much care for every single character. Even when like the one dad or whatever, Eric's dad dies. It's like it's scary, but also really sad, and just like every single one of these characters, you just don't want to see die, and you just like, even when it's kind of a funny death. A lot of the times it's mostly scary. I know Carrie and I were talking about, like, after the movie, we're just like, my anxiety level is really high. I feel like that. Why this movie is so effective is because, I don't know if it was just seeing it in the theater, but somehow I think it's that, but also that they just did a really good job with this one about making the deaths kind of unexpected, but also like really like realistic and just look really good and scary. You guys talked about that opening sequence was just so well done. I just love how the makes me want to shout, and then you just have the editing in it is just so incredible.
It speeds up every time the song speeds up. They start dancing faster and faster.
Yep. It had me reacting in many different ways. And reacting in one way where Carrie got kind of annoyed at me, or maybe just a little bit embarrassed, because I laughed when the one kid dies.
Oh,
But in my defense, that was really funny because he's one. He's the kid that ignores the guard and throws the penny and basically causes the whole thing. Oh, he's just kind of an
that damn
asshole little
penny.
kid. He's not an asshole little kid. And then also he dies in a very cartoony way by being crushed by a piano. So I don't know, man. I'm like, my anxiety's up, but I'm also like, like you laugh in kind of like a hysterical kind of way, like this is crazy.
Mhm.
It was like all of that combined. I just thought it was like really funny, but I guess I was the only one laughing in the theater. I don't know. It happens.
Oh, I watched this at home and I was laughing. I was like, "You deserve it, kid."
Anyways, yeah, great opening sequence. I was really confused for a second because I was like, I don't think this takes place in the 50s or whatever. Seeing like just even like oh man, like the way they just have like this woman scared and just like getting in the elevator and every
Yeah,
little
and
thing.
you realize how tall that building actually is.
Yeah. And just like everything that's kind of scary with it. And it's just like, oh yeah, get on. We have room for two more. And she's like looking at the weight limit of the elevator and just like wondering what's going to happen to these people. You find out like the one lady's like, oh, when are you due for your baby? And I turned to Carrie, was like, they just upped the stakes of this movie. And then, yeah, they do really up the stakes because of the familial connections. I think Caitlin Santa Juana is amazing. She's really good.
She's great.
I think like everyone in this is really good. You mentioned Eric Campbell. Richard Harmon is the actor, and he's really good. And also
Tio Brolin. How do you say his name? Bronis.
What?
Her brother in the movie is played by Tio
Her
Bronis.
brother's really good, but
he was the bully in Chucky season 1.
Oh, okay. We probably haven't gotten there. We watched like the first episode of that and just never continued.
He's
but
really
we
good in Chucky as well.
We really want to get back into that. But I was also going to mention that Richard Harmon, who plays Eric in the movie, his first movie was Trick or Treat.
What character did he play in Trick or Treat?
A vampire kid.
Wow. Okay.
So
I will say it is funny that Tio is in a Final Destination movie when he played the son in Chucky of Devon Sawa, who was, of course, Alex Browning in the original.
That's right. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, so the characters are great. The setup's great. I love how they play it in. I love how this movie does a yes and, where it feels like each movie is kind of like trying to do something different or one up. And this one is like, well, we're going to add like a different thing that's never really been done with the family connection in here. Because like they had in the first movie, they had Todd and his brother George, but his brother George dies on the plane. So they don't even have like that connection in the movie. They didn't really make their dad a character or anything like that. So there's not much like family stuff.
I mean, 3, you could say there's some with Wendy and her sister.
That's right. But it's not really that
fleshed out. Yeah.
They don't really even like each other that much.
I mean, to be fair, does anyone really like their siblings?
I don't know.
Especially growing up as teenagers.
Yeah, potentially. But I like how they, add all that. They even have like a lot of the like negative family stuff, like the mom who left the kids and then, wants to make it up to them and stuff. And that whole thing, playing in, and just like the kind of like mental health issue of, what happens to you if you are cursed with this and, over time, what's going to happen with it. But yeah, this movie is just so well put together. It's scary as hell. It has some great kills. And
one more thing I want to add that I didn't really like, and this is probably because I've seen this trope so much times, especially like nowadays, is making the grandmother almost like a Laurie Strode, like shut in, where she's like she's all crazy and stuff. I'm like, I've seen this in so many horror movies,
Yeah.
especially after 2018's Halloween, where I understand why she's like that. I'm just tired of that old woman hiding in a shack trope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of got that vibe too. I mean, I also don't really like that in the Halloween 2018 either. But you know, it is what it is. It makes sense for the story, but
Yeah.
I understand like the way they did it, you know, is kind of tropey. But other than that, yeah, I think it's a really well put together movie. I'd have to see it again to wonder if I think it's like leagues better than the other ones.
Mhm.
I honestly think that a lot of the other movies are just super underrated.
Yeah.
But you know, because
Oh,
if you look at the tomato scores, it's like
yeah, they're so different.
Bloodlines is here, and they're all other ones are
Yeah.
like trash. It's like that's not at all the case.
One other thing I forgot to mention, I love that we finally get to know who Bloodworth is.
Yes.
And like why he knows so much about death and death's design is because he was saved
Yeah.
by the grandmother Iris in this movie. She saved him as a child, and death has been following him ever since. So I like that we finally have a closing story about why Bloodworth is the one that knows about death's design.
Yeah, that was such a cool addition. And like when that reveal happens in the movie, and then I found out that that was the little boy, I turned to Carrie and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
Carrie was like, "What? Yeah, I know."
yeah,
Kind of
it's
reveal.
good. It's great.
It was a really fun moment to kind of like get that reveal. Yeah, so it's a really cool movie, and I would love to see them make more, but you know, they also kind of closed it a little bit to where maybe they won't.
It'll be hard to do them without Tony Todd, like his presence around. But I also think if you do a next one, I would love to see the original idea they had for this movie, which was a Final Destination movie following first responders, so people who deal with death every day, and now death is following them. I thought that was a really interesting idea for one of these movies. But I love the final product that we got here. But I'm interested to see like that story of somebody who deals with life and death every day, now having to survive death. I think that's a really good idea.
I could see that, like doctors and stuff like we did get a little bit of that in this movie too. But yeah, I also agree with you about like kind of closing the loop. Like Tony Todd died, so it's a perfect send off with this movie. And
if I'm being honest, you could probably just do like standalone movies in this franchise, because like every single one of them doesn't tie in directly to each other. I think Bloodlines could be the great send off for that franchise, and then you could just start doing spin-offs if you wanted.
Yeah, maybe.
Where it's just following new characters and new situations.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But anyways, I think we should get into the kills. We're about to wrap this roundup up. Hunter, right at the top. What is your favorite kill of this?
I'm gonna go with Eric's death in the MRI machine death. I just, the pulling.
That's the best one.
The magnetic pulls of his piercings, and one, you know where it went, and you're just as a guy, I went so hard at that. It's gruesome, but it's also kind of sad because I really liked Eric as a character too.
Yeah, that death is certainly probably the craziest one, and just like so well done. It's just crazy. I knew that was going to be the first pick for me. Shit, there's some really good ones, and I like a lot of the setup ones. This one is tough to pick. Just one of these. I'll go with the garbage truck trash compactor one.
That one's so funny because the setup of just them walking, and all of a sudden you look in the background. It's just
so. That one's so interesting because I like the way that they're trying to get her, figure out like what situation they're in. You got Eric, downplaying it and acting like they're all dumb and just being like, what's going to happen? Like this is going to happen. And oh no, they're going to kick the ball and all this stuff. Everything he describes happens to his sister.
The sound of the ball bouncing off her head is hilarious.
And it's funny because it also, I mean, she doesn't die immediately when all that happens. She just ends up in the truck. So it's kind of funny for a bit. Because you also don't know. I mean, but you also don't know if maybe they'll actually be able to save her because they're actually all trying to save her. But they're like bickering about what's going to happen. And then seeing it all happen like behind them as they're talking is really funny. And then it's just really scary and sad because, she's not a bad character. You like her and you don't want to see her die. And then she dies in a very horrific way. So that one's pretty crazy too. Carrie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean the best one's the MRI death. I'll go with the lawnmower one.
That's the other one I was thinking about picking.
The father.
Yeah, the father. That one was pretty good as well. That one was like, it was just very classic, like Rube Goldberg setup. You're like, who? Because it's all of the characters. You're like, which one is it going to be? You haven't really established the order yet. Like, which thing is it? How are all these things going to interact? There's kind of the fake out at first with the rake. So,
I will say the only thing I don't like is that they kind of spoiled that in the trailer.
Oh, I didn't really watch the trailer, so
okay. So to me, I knew that he was the one that was gonna die because they showed that in the trailer. So I was like, kind of sucks that the trailer just spoiled what was a really good tense scene, as you said.
Yeah.
Glad I don't pay attention to trailers. This is kind of a thing with me. Like people were mad that Spider-Man No Way Home spoiled some stuff because of the trailers. I was like, I didn't pay attention to that hard. And some people are like, well, I can't not pay attention to the trailers when I see them. And
it's difficult because like I don't normally seek out trailers. Like maybe if it's something I'm really excited for, if like you send it in the chat, Hunter, I'll probably watch it. But I mean, when we used to go to the movies all the time, it's like if you're sat in front of this preview screen and the preview's right in front of you, it's given away.
There's no escaping it at that point.
Yeah. Like there's nothing you can do unless you're gonna sit there in the theater like
I still just kind of like tune trailers out a lot of the time. I don't know.
I'm somebody who I think trailers should stop spoiling stuff and just make really good, interesting trailers that I can watch.
It's I guess because it's like the trailers are usually done by like a marketing team and it's like completely separate from the people who actually worked on the movie and know the plot and like, but like I don't know, like the director should at least have like some say
in what shot should go into the trailer.
Yeah.
But Carrie's scene I agree, I think is really awesome. I was cringing that whole scene because we were like, who's got the glass in their drink?
Yeah,
who's gonna drink the glass.
John Taffer would be so pissed at them.
And like, no one drinks the glass. And then you have the rake on the trampoline, and just like how all of this is set up, you're just like scared to death because it's like a family get together. Everyone's happy.
It's a family summer barbecue. We all have those.
The guy who dies just got got done talking about how he's so happy to have his family together and he loves them, and then he dies in this horrific way. And I was just mowing the grass, and it's scary to think about. It's just an everyday kind of thing, and then just chops up your face. It's just so ridiculous, but. Yeah, that's a great pick too, Gary. All right. That being said, let's go ahead and do our rankings.
Woo.
All right. Let's just go around and do it the style how I would do it on my other show, and just go around, do our 6s or 5s or 4s or 3s. My number 6, or Hunter, what's your number 6?
The Final Destination.
Same. Gary.
Yeah, same.
Okay. My number 5 is Final Destination 3. Carrie.
Same with me.
Ooh.
Yeah, same.
3? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I thought Hunter liked that one a lot more, but...
I did, but I think the rest of them are just technically better.
Gotcha. Carrie, what is your number 4?
2. 2.
Okay. Hunter?
People are not gonna like me. The original Final Destination.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the original Final Destination as well.
Is it back on me?
Yeah, for your 3.
My number 3 is Final Destination Bloodlines.
Okay, nice. My number 3 is Final Destination 2. Kara, what's your 3?
My 3 is Final Destination 5.
Okay, nice. My 2 is Final Destination 5. Kara, what's your 2?
My 2 is Bloodlines.
Hunter, what's your 2?
My 2 is Final Destination 5.
All right. And Hunter, just what's your number 1?
Final Destination 2.
And mine is currently Bloodlines.
Wow, nice.
Gary, what is your 1?
The original.
Nice. I love that.
We all have different ones, and they're all pretty great.
I really love that. I love that you guys have like 2 of the classics, and I have the newest one, which I don't always love doing that. Like the newest one.
Yeah, I had Bloodlines at 3 only because I've only seen it once. I want to go back on a rewatch and watch it again, but I know that like it's a technically better made movie than 3, even though I've seen that one probably the most times.
Yeah, I think I've seen like the other one so much that like I could just clearly see that I think Bloodlines is the better movie.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, Carrie, you didn't happen to like do like an overall, did you?
Yeah.
That's what I thought you were doing when you busted out the notebook.
All right. So at number 6, we have the Final Destination. At number 5, Final Destination 3. At number 4, Final Destination. At number 3, Final Destination 2. At number 2, Final Destination 5. At number 1, Final Destination Bloodlines.
Wow. Honestly, I think that might be close to the best ranking. I think we did such a good job combining that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great job, guys. We discussed all the films. We ranked them. We each did our own ranking. Then we have an overall ranking. Bloodlines is our winner. It's a pretty great movie. Maybe the franchise will continue. I don't know. But if that's the last one in the franchise,
what a way to go out.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it only kind of got, I don't know, arguably better. But even with the originals, so underrated. So this is just a great franchise.
For a franchise, this series only has one terrible movie.
Exactly. 100%.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So, anybody have any other final words, or Hunter gonna
rest in peace, Tony Todd, man?
Rest in peace, Tony Todd.
Does a killer job in this series, man.
Yep. All right. Good, Hunter.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you for watching.
Are we doing the
our roundup episode?
Oh. Sorry, I got confused. Are we doing the closing?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm tired.
How you normally close it out.
All right, so let's cut back in. All right, guys, that was our episode of Roundup on the podcast. If you guys did enjoy this, please hit that like button, subscribe to Welcome to Primetime, and remember, stay scared. Ooh.